Awesome. Thank you, Christoph. And thank you, everyone. This is great. Such an important topic. Yes, and as Christoph said, I am in the education sector. I was an undergrad at Yale, so feeling connected with Nicholas. And of course, I'm a professor like Jorge. So I like it that I'm kind of in between both prize winners. I want to introduce our next prize winner in the faculty level. He's Jorge Catter, and he is a professor of philosophy and ethics in Peru and Chile. So seems like he is well connected to many different places. And he's currently writing his PhD thesis on the anthropology of Paul Ricoeur. We were very struck by Jorge's essay because he's asking several questions about really fundamentally what does it mean to be human, and therefore what is unique versus between AI versus humans, and especially for big, what I would call emergent phenomena like culture, education, that's so hard to grasp and define. And how can or is it possible for AI to even approximate this that humans do at an everyday level? And I really love this because I think myself a lot about how we get this emergent phenomena. How do societies come about with culture and histories and tradition? I'm a physicist myself, so I think of it a lot of times from the point of view of how do we get thoughts from the different neurons in our brains? How do we get different functions and behavior based on the different molecular and cellular interactions that we have? And how is this sustained? And of course, I think it's absolutely, his thesis is so compelling because obviously we have many experiences and bodily interactions that AI does not have. And I really love the passion that everyone here has for education that we saw Nicholas and that Jorge has, again, being a professor and thinking about this on an everyday level as I interact with my students. So I'm thrilled to hear what Jorge has to say. And please, Jorge, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thanks, everyone, for the presentation. Sorry for my English, but and also congratulations to Nicholas for the award. And I will start, Nicholas, with something that the last thing you said, because you finished in your conclusions talking about the idea of honoring the richness of the human experience. That's what I would love to do, and that's like the main topic of my meditation or essay. And of course, I am, as Evelyn said, I'm just a teacher, just a professor, but everyone's talking about artificial intelligence nowadays. And if you read, every day we have news about that. And there was a very recent BBC News article that struck me because it said that Google's AI, DeepMind, is now using artificial intelligence to identify changes in human DNA that it says that it might make us recognize all the mutations up to 89%. So now we know just 0.1% of the mutations that cause diseases, and we will supposedly arrive to 89%. This is just to say that this is awesome. I will say a lot of bad things about artificial intelligence, but I think artificial intelligence could be great in many, many levels. I mean, if we can detect breast cancer with almost 100% of accuracy in some years, I mean, we will be defeating one of the most feared diseases nowadays. So I think we, with AI, and this is the first idea, we are facing a reality that could change radically, and most probably in a very short amount of time, the way we humans live. I mean, that's, for me, it's like the starting point. We are already seeing also the changes or the impact in the education world. I don't know you, but every day I know about courses, webinars, conferences, all about the future of education, linked to AI, of course. Our students are already using a lot of AI for essays, assignments, and with all the problems that all the benefits and the problems. But in all of this, and maybe my essay was all about one simple question. I mean, what is education about? That's it. what is the purpose of education? And I will sum it up in this way. The ultimate goal of education, I think, is to build a better society. So we have to follow that path. And the near goal of education is the formation of a better human being. And both, and I think this is very important, both goals are linked in education. So a society becomes a better one if the persons that constitute that society become better persons, and vice versa. We become better persons if we find ourselves in a better society. Let's say we have more probabilities of become better persons. And so I think that the future of education, and this is not irony, is in the past. I mean, I will just state two things that Aristotle already said, I don't know, almost 2,500 years ago. First of all, the first idea that I want to say is that the basis of all human education is that we are social beings. I mean, we are political beings. We are not, I mean, unlike animals, we are not programmed by nature, let's say. We come to the world completely naked, completely helpless, and we depend on others from the first hours of our lives, physically, spiritually, and practically everything we have. If we think outside, the place I'm here now, but also inside, of myself, I owe that to someone else. And I think that's the basis of all human education, that our human capacities are human possibilities. So all that we have to become that better person, everything is awakened through interaction with other human beings. And I think this starts with, maybe our moms having us in their hands, in their arms, holding us, looking at us. So the dynamics of education, that's the first idea, depends on this interaction with other human beings, how the dynamic goes. At the same time, also, the content of education, because one thing is the dynamics and one thing is the content of education. The content of education is also absolutely dependent on human interaction, because we can say in a very simple way that the material of what we call education is human culture. I mean, what we can broadly call human culture. That means all this complex of ideas, ways of seeing reality, everything that is cultivated, within us. That's the material of education. So the dynamics and the content of education depend on this human interaction, this very bodily, physically fallible, unique interaction that we have. And I think maybe not in this way, but Aristotle already said that a long time ago. The second idea that Aristotle already said is that we are language-based beings. He said that we are human being is a zoon logikon. Usually we translate logos with reason, reason, understanding, but logos actually means words. So it is through language, and I think that's the second idea, that we can actually configure this world, this meaningful world that education is all about. We listen to others, we understand them, we express ourselves, we learn together, We teach others, we project in society, we debate, we forgive, we pray, we love, etc. And all of this is done through language. So there is nothing in our activity, in our human activity, where language is not the medium of our humanity. Even because I was talking about this with some of my students, and they say, well, if I dance, there's no language. That's true. I mean, we can say that dancing is a kind of language or music, but for that activity to have meaning, I need language. I mean, maybe I won't say a word, but it's inside of myself. It needs language to be human. To that dancing, in order to be human, we need language. So if we ask, where does the key element to human education lies? I think we could somehow answer in the linguistic interaction with other human beings. I mean, that's like the basis of education since the beginning of humanity, I think. So if we want a better education, a purposeful education, we should be focused on receiving, understanding, expressing, creating language. That means ideas, narratives, arguments, debates, conversations, evaluations, plans, etc. I won't say that a lot about education nowadays, but I think we are not on that path precisely. I see like some situations, like for example, we have now not necessarily in the classic education fields like school or university, maybe also there, but we are in a way, there's some kind of influence that we are having in family, culture, media, to become less creative, less language articulated people. Because if we are passive, we can be more useful in this, neoliberal capitalist consumerist. I mean, in order to be a consumer, it's better if I don't debate, if I don't articulate language. It's better just to buy, click, watch, to be passive in that sense. And I think that also there's some kind of obsolete education that tries to be very, very disciplinary and very old school. But what we find, at least here in Latin America, is that these same schools or universities tend to critically run behind like the latest technologies, as to say that they are moving forward, but it's like the same old education. So what influence can AI have on education? So if this is the situation, what can AI do? And I really enjoyed a lot what Nicholas was saying, because he's much more hopeful than myself, and maybe he's the next generation. I'm grateful to hear him. But in my opinion, what makes current forms of AI, at least what we have now, like ChatGPT and all the large language models, what makes them so attractive is at the same time what makes them extremely dangerous, namely their ability to model language. I mean, if all that I have said is true, or at least part of it, so modeling language is something very delicate, it could be very dangerous in a way. In a world like ours, where this ability to articulate language is already sufficiently devalued due to this cultural preponderance of like a critical passivity and a lot of emotionality, it seems to me that the growth of AI is like the greatest challenge humanity faces in the field of education. And in the dynamics of education, like what I was talking before, because the trend will be, I think, to increasingly delegate on NI what should be part of human interaction. So it's true, there will always, I hope there will always be people behind education, but the tendency or the trend is to have less human interaction. I was like listening to some conferences, and I've heard like a couple of times that maybe one of the most possible results or immediate results that we will see is like the creation of a companion that is part of a human's life since the beginning, you know, like your personal robot or something like that. This is, we can say this is already happening with bots and our devices, but the change to something very customizable that learns more naturally language, that change, I think it will be radical. So my perspective is that we need not necessarily to, you know, block AI in the things that should be maybe we should be developing AI in some fields, but I think in education we need more personal human interaction, not less. Conscious, you know, corporeal, unpredictable. We're not predictable at all. Also fallible. I mean, we're not always right. We do not always say we are right or that we have the answer. So this idea of what we professors experience, 2 or more lives, you know, unique and repeatable, that are having this common experience of language. And regarding the content of education, many educational agents, like, I don't know, teachers or experts, are already delegating on AI the development and creation of education itself. So we have less human content in a way, you know, syllabi, I don't know, programs, objects, cases. And I think that we need more knowledge that is based on direct experience and personal knowing of the field and context. That's what we professors do at the end. I mean, that's our sole purpose, if we want. So persons fully experiencing reality, both bodily and spiritually, and helping others to experience reality themselves. So just to conclude, I think that the most serious problem seems to me to be found in this ability of AI to model human culture. Yuval Noah Harari and Tristan Harris, they both talk about this idea of the risk of having a non-human culture. So a culture that is reproduced or produced by an AI. And if this happens, and I don't want to be apocalyptic in my conclusions, but somehow I'll be, if this happens in a massive scale, and I think it completely depends on us that this doesn't happen in the education field, this will constitute the end, as REM used to say, like the end of human history as we know it, or at least the end of human education, because we will have education in other ways, but not human. So again, I think, and I will conclude with Nicholas, we have to honor the richness of human experience. Thank you.